The twin suns of Hilaria hung low in the orange sky as Laura walked alone across the sand dunes of her moon colony. Her long silver robe dragged behind her. Her heavy footsteps echoed through the silent ruins of a once glorious palace. She was tall, too tall for her people. Her body, strong and wide-shouldered, was called unnatural. Her hips were too broad, her bones too thick. No Halari male ever looked at her with desire. Once she had been named Queen of the Eastern Ring, but it meant nothing now. No throne, no followers. Only whispers behind her back. She is too large to carry life, they said. Her womb is cursed. So she was sent here exiled, forgotten, a queen without a kingdom. A woman without a purpose. She spent her days fixing old machines, cleaning the empty halls, and watching the stars. But deep inside, she longed for something more. Not power, not praise, just someone to look at her without fear or shame. Then, one day, fire fell from the sky. That had happened just before sunset. A streak of silver cut through the clouds. Smoke trailed behind it. The object screamed as it crashed into the desert far beyond. Her home. Laura stared from her tower window. Her heart raced. That was not a meteor. That was a ship. Without a second thought, she grabbed her staff, mounted her old hover sled, and sped across the desert. The winds whipped through her hair. Dust stung her eyes. But she did not stop. When she reached the crash site, her eyes widened. A small Earth ship, broken in half, lay burning in the sand. The scent of fuel and metal filled the air, and then movement. Someone was crawling from the wreckage. His skin was pale, his clothes torn. His arm hung useless at his side, but he was alive, a human. Laura froze. She had heard of humans small, emotional, reckless, but brave, kind, some said. Still, she had never seen one in real life. The man looked up at her, his lips cracked, his voice dry. "Please, help me," he whispered. Her instincts screamed to run. He was an off-worlder, dangerous, forbidden. But something in his eyes stopped her. He didn't look at her with disgust. Not like the others, he looked grateful and curious. Without a word, she picked him up carefully, gently, and laid him across the sled. The ride back was slow. He faded in and out of sleep, groaning in pain. She used her scarf to wrap his arm. His blood soaked into the fabric. When they arrived, she carried him inside and placed him on her only medical table. She scanned him with old Halari tech, broken ribs, torn muscles, mild concussion. But he would live. For days she nursed him in silence. She crushed healing roots. She sang soft Halari songs while she cleaned his wounds. He watched her. Not just with eyes, but with interest. He smiled, even when he was in pain. On the third day, he spoke. "You saved my life," he said. "I'm Captain Jace Warner, Earth Military." Laura didn't answer at first. Then, in her low, calm voice, she replied, "You crashed near my home. It would have been cruel to leave you." He chuckled. "You have a home out here, alone?" She nodded. "Yes, this is my exile." Jace blinked. "Exile? But why?" "You're—" He paused, trying to find the right words. "You're powerful." That word. She stared at him, confused. Most called her too big or wrong. But never powerful. "You do not fear me?" she asked. "No," Jace said with a grin. "You pulled me out of a crash. You're the strongest person I've ever met." A strange warmth spread through her chest. She turned away, hiding the soft glow that started in her skin. She didn't know what it meant. Halari bodies didn't glow unless touched by deep emotion. But that night, as Jace rested, Laura sat outside, staring at the stars. Her hand moved to her stomach without thinking. For years, it had been empty, still, silent. But now, there was something. A flutter. Not physical but emotional, and deep inside. Her, An old forbidden's hope began to wake. Laura stood at the doorway of her sleeping quarters, watching Jace from the shadows. He was awake, sitting on the floor beside the window, fixing a broken sensor core with pieces of scrap metal and old wire. His fingers moved fast, clever. His sleeves were rolled up, showing arms lined with scars, not from age, but from war. His face still looked pale, tired. But there was something in him that refused to rest. "Why do you not sleep?" she asked quietly. He looked up, surprised. She had been watching. "Couldn't," he said. "Too quiet." "Feels like the stars are listening." Laura tilted her head. "That is not a bad thing." "Maybe not," he smiled. "Unless you've got secrets worth hiding." Laura walked closer, her bare feet silent on the metal floor. She sat beside him, folding her long legs carefully so she didn't bump him by mistake. She had always tried to make herself smaller and others less intimidating. But Jace didn't flinch. He looked straight at her. "You fix that?" she asked, nodding toward the half-dead sensor core. "Trying to," he said. "It's old tech but familiar. Like something from Earth 30 years ago." "You understand Halari machines?" "Not really," he laughed. "But machines are like people. You learn more by paying attention than by forcing things." Laura blinked. That was oddly wise. Then silence fell again. A long, warm kind. The kind that didn't feel heavy. Jace broke it first. "Back on Earth, people said aliens were dangerous, cold, hard to read. But you," he hesitated, "you're not like that." "No," she agreed softly. "I am not like most." He waited, sensing more behind her words. But she didn't explain. Instead, her hand brushed against his by accident as she reached for a fallen wire. In that second, something happened. A flash of light, faint and quick, passed through Laura's skin. It started at her fingertips and moved up her arm. She froze. Her breath caught. She turned her hand over, studying it in silence. Jace noticed. "That happened before," he said, "on the first night. When you touched my forehead. I hoped you did not see." "What is it?" She hesitated. Telling him the truth was dangerous. But he had seen it already. Felt it. "It is a reaction our bodies have," she said slowly. "But only under rare conditions. We call it the bloom." "Bloom?" he echoed. "Like a flower?" She nodded. "It means something inside is waking." "Changing, because of me?" he asked, voice low. She didn't answer, but her silence said enough. That night, after Jace fell asleep again, Laura went to the deepest part of the palace, the archives. Dust floated in the cold air. Ancient books lined the walls. She hadn't opened them in years. She searched until she found it. The Codex of Lineage and Life. A banned text. She flipped through the glowing pages until she found the old law. Halari who share breath and skin with those not of their blood may awaken dormant paths, but no child has ever lived. Death follows the unnatural bond. Her hands shook. Her glowing fingers dimmed. So it had happened before. Long ago, a Halari had tried to bond with a human, or someone like them. And it led to ruin. Laura closed the book and sat still for a long time. Could she be different? Could they? The next morning, Jace helped her repair the old communications tower. It stood crooked on the roof of the palace, a mess of broken panels and rusted coils. "Try not to fall," she said as he climbed the ladder. "Too late," he grinned. "Already fell. Right out of the sky, into your desert." She looked up at him, narrowing her eyes. "You joke too much. And you frown too much," he said, playfully. For the first time in years, Laura felt her lips twitch into a smile. As they worked, she caught him looking at her. Not with fear, not with pity, but with something deeper. Something warmer. He said nothing about the glow in her arms, but he moved closer, stood nearer. Each time their fingers touched, her body responded, and so did his. When they finished, the antenna sparked to life. "Signals working again," he said. wiping sweat from his forehead. Laura's face went pale. "You fixed it?" "Yeah," he said, proud. "Why?" She turned away. "Because now they'll hear us." "Who?" She paused. "My people, the Halari Empire. They will come now." That night, the stars above shimmered a little brighter, but not in beauty. They were warning lights. Something was coming, and inside Laura's chest, where there had always been silence, something fluttered again, something growing, something new. The wind howled outside the broken walls of the palace, but inside, the air had gone still. Laura stood in the control room, staring at the blinking lights on the comms panel. Green, yellow, red. A signal had gone out. Someone had picked it up. "They're coming," she whispered. "Jac." He stood beside her, confused. "Who's coming?" "The Halari Guardians," she said, voice cold. "My people's enforcers. They punish those who break our laws." Jace frowned. "What law did we break?" Laura turned to face him. Her eyes glowed faintly. "I touched you. My body responded to yours. It has been seen before, but never accepted. We are not allowed to bond with outsiders." Jace blinked. "Bond? You mean this thing between us? It's against their rules?" She nodded. "And worse, it's working." He stepped closer. "What do you mean?" "I feel something. Inside me, something waking. I never felt this before. My body, it's changing." She paused, then added, "Your presence is unlocking something long believed dead." Jace's expression turned serious. He stepped even closer. "Laura," he said gently, "are you saying you might be able to have a child?" She didn't answer, not with words, but the way she placed her hand over her belly, the way her eyes lowered, said everything. The next morning, Laura walked alone into the desert. She needed space. Time to think. In the silence, memories came back. Her youth, being mocked by her peers, being told her size was wrong, that she would never be a mother. Her body was too dense, her genetics too different. No male will want one so large. They used to say. And then came the doctors, the tests, the rejection. "You are sterile by design," they said. "You are an evolutionary mistake." She had believed them, but now Jace's touch, his voice, his kindness, it had awakened something no one else ever had. She looked up at the sky. A dot of silver light blinked above the clouds. A Halari ship, nearing orbit. Back at the palace, Jace was working again, this time with Laura's old medical scanner. He was trying to understand what was happening to her body. The scanner showed strange new pattern cells forming, energy flowing, light moving through her like never before. He pressed a button. The scanner read, "Early-stage cellular duplication. Detected. Potential embryonic spark present. Origin. Hybrid signal non-Halari traits observed." Jace stared at the screen. Oh my God. Laura wasn't just changing. She was conceiving. It wasn't just hope, it was happening. But then outside, engines roared. Dust kicked up. The ground trembled. The Halari ship had landed. 3 guards in dark blue armor marched into the palace. Tall, thin, and cold-eyed. They walked past the gardens, past the broken halls, and straight into the control room where they found Jace. He stood still, unarmed. But they raised their plasma lances. "Human," one hissed. "Step away." Laura arrived seconds later. "Stop," she shouted. "He is under my care." "You broke the code, Laura of the Outer Moon," the lead guard said. "You touched a foreigner. You shared breath. You bonded." Laura stood tall, even as fear rippled through her. "I did what your males could not," she said calmly. "I brought life." The guards paused. "Lies." "I carry it now," she said, placing her hand on her stomach. "My blood has accepted his." One guard scanned her. The device beeped. The result was clear. She was pregnant. The guard stepped back, confused, alarmed. One whispered, "That should not be possible." But the lead guard's face twisted in anger. "Abomination," he spat. "This child is a danger to Halari purity. It must not live." Jace stepped forward, fists clenched. "Touch her and I swear," the guards raised their weapons. "You will both be taken. Your bond will be erased. The child will be removed." "No," Laura growled. Her eyes glowed fully now. Bright gold, fierce. "You will not touch what is mine." The palace lights flickered. Energy surged through the walls. The old systems, long dead, sparked to life. Even the air hummed with her power. Jace grabbed her hand. "We run." They fled through the underground tunnels, ones only she knew. Old escape routes from the days of war dot behind them. Alarms sounded. The guards followed, shouting orders. Jace held tight to Laura's hand as they raced through narrow corridors. She was fast even with the early signs of pregnancy. He could feel the heat in her skin, the power pulsing from her body. "You're glowing again," he said breathlessly. "I'm not just glowing," she replied. "I'm awakening." They reached the hangar hidden under the palace. Inside sat an old scout ship. Rusted, dusty, but still whole. "I never thought I'd need it again," Laura said. Jace jumped in first, powering up the system. "Well, it's our only chance." As the engines flared to life, plasma blasts struck the ceiling above. The guards had caught up. Laura leaped into the ship as Jace pulled the door shut. He fired the thrusters. The scout ship roared through the ground tunnel and burst out into the open desert sky. Bullets of light chased them. But they didn't stop. They couldn't dot in the small cockpit. Jace looked over. Laura's eyes were closed, her breathing fast. "Are you okay?" he asked. She opened her eyes slowly. "I am no longer Halari," she said. "Not in their eyes." He reached for her hand. "Then what are you?" She looked down at her glowing skin, then at him. The small scout ship shook as it entered orbit. The engines groaned. Sparks flew from the left panel. But Jace kept his hands tight on the controls, guiding the ship higher, away from the planet that no longer welcomed them. Behind them, the Halari. Warship rose like a dark blade, cold and silent. "It didn't fire, not yet. Why aren't they attacking?" Jace asked. Laura stared out the back window. Her body glowed with faint golden light. Her jaw was tight. "They don't want to destroy." "US," she said. "Not until they take what I carry." Jace looked down at her hands, resting gently on her belly. "You mean the child?" She nodded. "To them, this pregnancy is not a miracle. It's a violation," he didn't answer. Not right away. Instead, he reached over and gently covered her hand with his. "To me, it's the most human thing I've ever seen." Hours later, they reached a neutral docking station floating between two gas giants, Haven 6. It was old, half abandoned, and full of traitors, exiles, and silent eyes. No flags flew here. No empire claimed it. As they stepped off the ship, eyes turned, whispers followed. A glowing Halari female, clearly pregnant, walking beside a human male. Holding hands, Laura kept her eyes forward. Jace stayed close. He could feel the fear under her calm face, but also her strength. She didn't shrink anymore. They checked into a quiet medical wing run by independent AI and off-world nurses. It was clean, private, safe for now. Laura lay on the scan bed. Soft lights moved across her stomach as a gentle voice from the eye. Nurse echoed in the room. "Unusual biological pairing detected. Womb activity, high. Fetal energy, hybrid signature confirmed. Heartbeat detected." Jace sat beside her, holding her hand. He watched the small flickering lights. On the screen, the shape of something tiny, new, and real. A child. Tears touched Laura's eyes. Her voice broke. "They said I was broken. That I'd never carry life." "You're not broken," Jace whispered. "You were just waiting for the right story." She squeezed his hand tighter. But peace did not last long. On the third night, armed guards in black uniforms entered Haven 6, not Halari, not military, but something worse, council enforcers, working for all empires. They carried a message chip. Laura opened it. A cold, robotic voice filled the room. Laura of the Halari. Outer Moon, you have committed a violation of genetic code law. You will surrender your unborn child for study. If you resist, your lineage will be erased. You have 24 hours. Jace stood up, fists tight. That's not a message, that's a threat. They don't care about the child, Laura said. They fear what it means. A child born of two worlds. It could change everything. Then we protect it, Jace said. No, she said softly. We protect him. That night, they stayed in silence, lying side by side on the narrow bed. Jace gently placed his hand on her stomach, feeling the soft warmth beneath her skin. He asked. Laura nodded. Yes, I can feel it. A boy. Jace smiled. What would you name him? She thought for a moment. On Halaria, we name children after what they bring into the world. He looked into her eyes. Then name him after hope. She whispered something in her native tongue. Soft, beautiful, a name filled with stars. He repeated it with a smile. Tivan, she nodded. Tivan means the one who rewrites fate. But the next morning, everything changed. The scan station had been hacked. A recording was stolen footage of the child's heartbeat. His growing light. That footage now played across Haven 6's trader screens and terminals. The first living proof of a Halari human hybrid child. Some cheered. Others panicked. Protests broke out. Ships left early. Whispers turned into arguments. And deep in the lowest deck of the station, bounty hunters arrived. Laura stood near the glass window, staring out at the stars. Her face unreadable. Jace joined her, wrapping an arm around her shoulders. They're going to come after us harder now, he said. Yes, she whispered. Because they know I've done what none of them dared to try. He looked at her proud. You made a future. She turned to him. We don't run now, we rise. He smiled. You sure you're not royalty? She touched his face gently. I was called queen once, but I never felt like one until now. Suddenly, alarms blared across Haven 6. The lead AI's voice cut through the halls. Unregistered Halari warship entering airspace. Code Black alert. Jace and Laura stared at each other. They were out of time. Sirens screamed through Haven 6 like a dying animal. Red lights flashed across the ceilings. Doors slammed shut. Traders grabbed weapons. Security droids rushed to sealed checkpoints. Jace pulled Laura close. We need to go, now. Laura didn't move. She stood tall, her glowing skin even brighter under the emergency lights. Her eyes, once soft, now burned with fire. They've come to take him, she said. But they will not touch him. She pressed her hand over her stomach. Inside, she felt a kick. Strong, urgent. Tivan is ready, she whispered. JACE single quotes. Face went pale. You mean? Yes, she said calmly. The labor has begun. They moved fast, slipping through side corridors and old cargo routes. The station shook as the Halari warship docked. You could feel the presence of its engines, a low hum that made metal vibrate. Everywhere, people stared at Laura as she passed. A pregnant Halari female walking with purpose beside a human male. Some bowed in respect. Others turned away in fear. They reached Dock 9, where their old scout ship was refueled and waiting. But two bounty hunters were already there, lean men in armor, holding shock rifles. One raised his voice. Turn her over. The child belongs to the Halari High Council. Jace didn't answer with words. He moved fast. He slammed into the first man, knocking the rifle free. The second turned toward Laura, but she lifted her hand, and a burst of energy shot from her palm. The force knocked him off his feet and into the wall. Silence followed. Jace blinked. What was that? I told you, Laura said, helping him up. I'm awakening. They climbed aboard the ship, Laura breathing harder now. I can feel him pushing, she said. He's not waiting. Jace placed her on the medical couch near the back cabin. He secured her safely, but her body was trembling. The ship engines roared to life. He took the pilot's seat and gripped the controls. Hold on, he said. We're punching through. Outside, the Halari warship blocked the upper dockway. Its weapons glowed fully armed. Don't shoot, Jace muttered to himself. She's in labor. But the warship didn't care. It fired the first blast. Mist. The second hit the docking bay behind them, sending debris flying. Jace twisted the scout ship hard to the left, feeling the metal groan under pressure. He flew low, hugging the rings of Haven 6 as he curved toward open stars. Inside the ship, Laura cried out, I can't wait. She shouted, He's coming now. Jace looked back, torn. I can't land anywhere. Then don't, she gasped. You'll do this with me. Here, now. Jace left the pilot's seat and rushed to her side. She lay on the medical couch, sweat running down her temples, glowing skin pulsing with each contraction. Her breath was heavy. Her fingers crushed the sidebars of the bed. I've never done this, Jace said, kneeling beside her, but I'll stay right here. I won't let go. Her voice was deep but soft. That's all I need. And then she screamed. The light around her grew brighter, flooding the small cabin in gold and blue. Energy crackled through the air. The ship itself responded. Lights flickered, systems surged. It was like her body and the ship had become one, and in the middle of that light, Tivan was born. The child didn't cry at first. He simply opened his eyes, soft brown, glowing gold around the pupils. His skin shimmered with faint blue light, like the stars reflected on still water. Jace gently took him, hands shaking. He's perfect, he whispered. He's not a mistake, he's the future. Laura sat up, weak but smiling. She reached for the child and held him to her chest. And then something strange happened. Outside, the Halari warship paused. Their scanners had detected the energy surge from inside the ship. The birth, the light, they stopped their chase. The warship turned. It backed off, as if they were afraid. Jace noticed the silence. He looked at the screen. They're leaving. Laura didn't seem surprised. They felt it, she said. The bond, the power. This child is something beyond them. Jace laughed softly, wiping tears from his eyes. So what now? We run, she said. Not in fear, but in freedom. He looked down at the sleeping child in her arms. We have to protect him. No, Laura whispered, kissing the baby's forehead. We have to raise him to protect others. They floated through the stars. The scout ship quiet now. Laura rested. Jace sat beside her, one hand on her shoulder, one watching the screen. They were alone, but for the first time they weren't empty. They had a son. They had a reason. The stars outside the ship drifted like falling snow, in the quiet after chaos. The universe seemed to hold its breath. Laura sat beside the large observation window, her arms wrapped around the small glowing child pressed against her chest. Baby boy Tivan slept in peace. His tiny hand curled into her robe, his soft golden eyes closed. Jace stood across the room, watching them with silent awe. He had fought in wars. He had seen planets burn. He had held dying friends in his arms. But nothing prepared him for this, for watching a woman once exiled for being too much, now cradle the most precious life he had ever seen. The ship floated in deep space now. No pursuit, no signals. Just a quiet path between stars. They had sent out no beacon. Laura had destroyed the old comms array. She didn't want curious eyes tracking their location. We'll find somewhere new, she told Jace. Somewhere clean, empty. We will not hide in fear. We'll grow in peace, Jace nodded. Do you know such a place? She looked down at Tivin. I didn't. Until now. 2 days later, they reached a small green moon called Alran 3. Tucked into the shadow of a gas giant, it had no cities, no trade routes, no traffic. Just a few quiet domes once used by scientists and explorers. The air was rich, the land soft and quiet. They landed in a valley surrounded by silver trees and glowing blue moss. For the first time in years, Laura stepped outside without armor, without fear. Barefoot, she walked through the wet grass, holding her son against her chest. Jace followed behind, carrying supplies and smiling like he had never smiled before. Inside one of the old domes, they built a home. Not much, just a clean space, a working garden, and a sealed medical room for Laura and the baby. Jace repaired broken panels during the day. Laura taught him Halari words at night. They cooked together, read books together, watched the stars. But more than anything, they learned to become a family. Tivin's glow would brighten whenever Jace sang. His heartbeat calmed when Laura told him stories from her people, old myths, forgotten legends, and quiet truths. And as the weeks passed, something strange began to happen. Tivin aged fast. Not dangerously fast, but noticeably. He learned to grip, to sit, to crawl, all before his 3rd week. His body was a perfect blend of Halari, power, and human adaptability. Jace ran a scan one evening and stared at the results. He's accelerating, he said. Laura wasn't surprised. He is writing his own rules. Then, one night, the child woke screaming. The dome shook. Lights flickered. Outside, animals fled from the valley. Jace rushed into the room, but the glow around Tivin had grown stronger, pulsing like a heartbeat through the walls. Laura stood over him, calm, hands raised. He's dreaming, she said. Not of this world, but of others. Jace looked confused. What do you mean? He's connected, she whispered. To everything, galaxies, memory, maybe time itself. And then the glow faded, the shaking stopped. Tivin fell asleep again, but now something had changed in the air. They were no longer alone. The next day, Jace's old cum unit, tucked away in a drawer, crackled to life. A message, faint and shaky, played over the speaker. To whoever hears this, the child. We saw him. You are not alone. Others believe. Others want to help. They are afraid of him because they don't understand, but we do. Don't give up. Jace stared at Laura. Who was that? She didn't answer right away. Instead, she whispered, a spark has started. Across the galaxy, rumors were spreading of a glowing child born of 2 worlds, of a Halari queen who broke the law of her kind, of a human who defied empires for love. Some called it treason, others called it prophecy, but all of them felt it. Something new had entered the galaxy, and it would not be stopped. That evening, Laura stood outside with Tivin in her arms. The child reached up toward the stars with chubby fingers glowing gold. What do you see? She asked softly. He didn't speak yet, but his eyes followed one star, a far one, a dark one, and Laura knew someone was watching. 3 months passed. On the quiet moon of Alran 3, under silver trees and violet skies, the sound of a child's laughter echoed through the valley. Tivin ran barefoot across the glowing moss, arms out, chasing floating seed lights. His golden eyes shimmered. His steps left behind a soft light that faded as quickly as it came. Laura sat on the grass, watching her son explore the world like it belonged to him, because in truth, it did. Inside the dome, Jace finished carving. Small symbol into the wall, a spiral of stars, and a handprint in the center. Tivin's hand, their family's mark. He stepped outside and joined Laura. She leaned against his shoulder. He's growing fast, Jace said. He's listening. She replied, to what? Everything. Jace looked down at the valley, where Tivin now sat in the grass, eyes closed, palms open. His breathing was calm, steady. He feels the planets, she whispered. The wind. The stars. My people taught that connection like. This was myth, but he lives it. And yet they tried to erase him. Laura's eyes softened. They tried to erase me long before him, she said. I was told I was too large, too strong, too unfit to be a mother. But they were wrong. You weren't broken, Jace said. She looked at him, eyes bright. No. I was just waiting for something worth growing. Later that night, they gathered for dinner, a quiet meal under the stars. Jace grilled fresh root fruit. Laura poured heated nectar from glowing leaves. Tivin hummed to himself, arranging stones. In a circle, but then, a hum filled the air, not natural. Not from the moon, from above. They looked up. A light descended from the sky, smooth, silent silver. A small ship, elegant and unfamiliar. It didn't belong to the Halari, nor the Council, nor Earth. Laura stood and placed Tivin behind her. Her glow sharpened. The ship opened. A woman stepped out. Not human. Not Halari. Her skin was pale gray, her eyes soft purple, and her robe shimmered like starlight. She bowed low. I mean no harm, she said. Then speak carefully. Laura replied. I come with news, the visitor said. And with truth. The galaxy watched your escape. Many feared it. But others were moved. Laura studied her. You're not with the Halari? No, I am with the Circle of Listening Suns. We observe life across systems. We protect what's new, what is sacred. The visitor looked down at Tivin, and this child is both. She handed Laura a small sphere. Inside it, messages. Video. Clips, hundreds of them. One by one, Jace and Laura played them. Voices from across the galaxy. People of all kinds, human, alien, hybrid, speaking from dark rooms, broken worlds, refugee stations. I was told I'd never be accepted. They said I was too different, too wild, too emotional. But then I saw you. I saw your child. Now I know maybe I'm not alone. Laura's hand shook. They weren't just fugitives anymore. They were symbols. That night, she sat with Tivin in her lap and spoke to him gently. You were never meant to be quiet, she said. Not hidden. You are not a secret. You are a seed. Tivin reached up, placing his glowing palm against her heart. Laura gasped softly. In that moment, her body surged not with pain, but with memory. She saw visions of cities rising, of alien children laughing, of human hands holding alien hearts that have changed out of future. She looked at Jace, who sat quietly nearby. We can't stay here, she said. He nodded. Then where do we go? Everywhere. They left Alran 3 the next morning. In a new ship gifted by the Listening Suns, they began their journey. They didn't run. They visited worlds that feared change and offered kindness. They spoke to councils that once believed in purity and gave them proof of life. Tivin, barely speaking yet, could calm angry rooms just by entering them. Laura, once an outcast, now spoke as a leader. Jace stayed by her side. Partner, father, witness. Years passed. And then one day, in a massive hall built on neutral ground, Laura stood before thousands of beings human. Halari and beyond. Tivin, now older, sat beside her. She spoke into the silence. They said I was too large to carry life, but life was never something you carry. It's something you choose to protect, and I chose it. I chose him, and I choose every child like him. Every soul told they don't fit, every voice silenced before it sang. I was not broken. I was waiting, and now I bloom. The room erupted in light and sound, not applause, not cheers. But something deeper. Hope.